The story begins in the harsh, unforgiving wilderness of the northern frontier during the late 19th century. The setting is a snow-laden landscape where icy winds howl through frozen valleys and towering pines, and every step is treacherous. A small wagon train carrying settlers and merchants is making its slow, cautious progress along a mountain pass heading to a distant town. Among them is the protagonist, a rugged, solitary rancher named Caleb McAllister, a man hardened by years of isolation and survival in the frontier, known for his skills with horses, his sharp shooting, and his deep sense of honor. He has built a modest life for himself in the snowy wilderness, trading with nearby towns and living a quiet, disciplined existence. The wagon train, however, is not so fortunate. During a particularly harsh blizzard, the wagons are ambushed by a ruthless gang of bandits. These criminals are desperate and violent, motivated by greed and willing to kill without mercy. In the chaos, the snowstorm blurs visibility, making it almost impossible for the settlers to defend themselves. Screams and shouts echo through the mountains as wagons overturn, horses bolt in terror, and chaos reigns. The bandits loot the wagons, leaving a trail of destruction, and ultimately abandon the survivors to the merciless cold. When the storm clears and the bandits are long gone, Caleb, riding through the mountain pass on his sturdy, black stallion, notices the wreckage from afar. Broken wagons, scattered belongings, and frozen tracks in the snow suggest something horrific has taken place. His instincts as a tracker and a man attuned to the wilderness immediately kick in, and he begins to search for any survivors, his heart pounding at the possibility of life amid the carnage. The snow is treacherous, and every step is a battle against frostbite and exhaustion. But Caleb pushes on, guided by a sense of duty and humanity. Amid the wreckage, he finds a young woman, barely conscious, huddled among the debris of a shattered wagon. She is covered in frost, her clothes tattered and soaked from the snow. Her face is pale and streaked with ice, and her breathing is shallow, a sign that she could succumb to the elements at any moment. Despite her dire condition, she is alive. Caleb immediately acts, using his knowledge of wilderness survival to stabilize her. He builds a small fire using dry wood he collects from nearby trees, shields her from the wind, and wraps her in a spare blanket he carries. He gives her water and carefully inspects her for injuries, recognizing that exposure to the cold is as deadly as the physical wounds she has suffered. As he works to save her, he notices something striking about her. Even in her disheveled state, there is a certain elegance in her demeanor. Her hands, though frozen, reveal delicate rings, and there is a subtle, refined air about her posture. Caleb, however, is focused on survival rather than appearances. He is pragmatic and matter-of-fact, determined to ensure she survives the night. The woman, semi-conscious and shivering, whispers fragments of her identity, but the full story is obscured by fever and exhaustion. All Caleb knows is that she is alone, vulnerable, and in immediate need of help. With immense effort, Caleb carries her to his cabin, a small wooden structure insulated against the harsh northern winter. He tends to her, feeding her warm broth and checking her injuries, creating a sense of tension and urgency in the narrative. This sequence establishes not only the brutality of the frontier, but also Caleb's heroism and compassion. The first outline concludes with a sense of relief mixed with suspense. The woman has survived, but her background remains a mystery. Caleb does not yet know that she is Baroness Isabella von Hohenberg, a wealthy European noblewoman traveling incognito across America. She has inherited vast wealth from her family, but was traveling under the guise of a common traveler to escape political intrigue and family expectations. After the chaos of the massacre and Caleb's heroic rescue, the story shifts into a quieter, more intimate phase focused on survival, care, and the slow development of trust between Caleb and the mysterious survivor. The wilderness remains unforgiving, with bitter winds and snowstorms reminding both characters that the outside world is dangerous. Within the warmth of Caleb's modest cabin, the story begins to explore human resilience, empathy, and the tentative formation of a bond under extraordinary circumstances. The survivor, whom Caleb eventually learns to call Isabella, is severely weakened from hypothermia, malnutrition, and minor injuries sustained during the wagon attack. At first, she is delirious, murmuring incoherent fragments of her identity and speaking in a mix of languages due to her European background. Caleb, unfamiliar with her noble heritage, simply responds with practical instructions. Drink this. Hold still. Don't move too fast. His tone is firm but gentle, revealing a combination of authority and care. The realism of his actions starting a fire, preparing warm broth, binding minor wounds, and shielding her from drafts establishes a believable survival scenario, emphasizing his competence in the wilderness. As Isabella gradually regains strength, she begins to interact more with Caleb, initially in a cautious and uncertain manner. Her early gestures are hesitant. She avoids eye contact, speaks softly, and watches him closely, unsure whether he can be trusted. Caleb's demeanor, however, is consistent and unthreatening. He does not press her for answers about her identity, showing patience and respect for her vulnerability. This patience is critical. It demonstrates the narrative theme of trust building and allows the audience to understand the emotional gravity of two strangers forming a connection in extreme circumstances. During this period, Caleb also teaches Isabella essential survival skills. For instance, he shows her how to chop wood safely, identify edible roots and berries, and manage basic first aid in the snowy wilderness. While he is doing this out of necessity, these lessons serve as a subtle form of bonding. Isabella begins to admire his expertise, strength, and resilience. Meanwhile, Caleb is struck by her intelligence, curiosity, and quiet dignity. Despite her weakened state, her manners, quick wit, and inherent elegance hint at a background far removed from frontier life, though Caleb has no clue of her aristocratic origins. This contrast, the rugged self-made rancher and the refined, mysterious woman, lays the groundwork for tension, curiosity, and eventual romance later in the story. The cabin itself becomes a character in this part of the narrative. Its warmth, isolation, and rustic charm provide a safe haven, a temporary respite from the harsh world outside. Scenes are carefully described: the crackling of the fire, the icy wind against the wooden walls, the scent of pine and burning wood, the snow piling against the small windows. These details create an atmosphere of intimacy and tension simultaneously, both protective and threatening. The snow outside is a constant reminder that danger is never far away, enhancing the stakes and highlighting Caleb's role as protector. As Isabella regains her strength, small interactions between the two characters reveal deeper aspects of their personalities. Caleb shows a soft, almost paternal side in his caremaking, sure she eats properly, encourages her to rest, and gently teases her when she overestimates her own strength. Isabella, in turn, begins to open up emotionally. She shares fragmented stories of her travels through Europe and America, painting a picture of a life that was once privileged and luxurious, yet fraught with personal struggles and political intrigue. Caleb listens with genuine interest, though he remains grounded and practical, focusing on the present rather than her past. An essential aspect of this outline is the subtle development of romantic tension. While their relationship is initially built on survival and gratitude, there are moments of quiet intimacy, like when Caleb tends to a burn on her hand from the fire, or when they share a blanket during a particularly harsh night. These moments are charged with emotion, though neither fully acknowledges it at first. The narrative emphasizes unspoken connection, glances, gestures, and mutual reliance. This slow burn approach ensures that the bond feels organic and not rushed, aligning with the realistic timeline of recovery and trust building in extreme conditions. The narrative also includes obstacles during this phase. Isabella's body is weak, and exposure to cold and exhaustion creates tension. Caleb faces challenges such as sourcing enough food during the winter, maintaining the cabin, and navigating treacherous conditions if they need to venture outside. These challenges create opportunities for Isabella to demonstrate resilience and adaptability, reinforcing her inner strength and hinting at qualities that align with her aristocratic background. This combination of vulnerability and strength makes her character multidimensional. Not merely a damsel in distress. As days pass, Isabella begins to express gratitude and admiration toward Caleb, not just for saving her life, but also for treating her as a person rather than an object of pity. This mutual respect and reliance form the emotional core of the narrative. Caleb, though initially unaware of her wealth and title, begins to sense that she is no ordinary woman. Her knowledge of foreign languages, subtle cultural references, and refined manners intrigue him. Yet the story maintains suspense. Readers know her true identity, but Caleb does not. This dramatic irony heightens tension and engagement, encouraging readers to speculate on how he will react when the truth is revealed. By the end of Outline 2, Isabella has fully recovered her health, and the bond between her and Caleb has solidified into a complex relationship built on trust, admiration, and subtle attraction. The wilderness, once a threat, has become the crucible through which both characters are tested and shaped. Caleb has proven himself as a protector and teacher, while Isabella has demonstrated intelligence, resilience, and emotional depth. The story sets up multiple potential conflicts for the next outline: the mystery of her noble identity, the eventual return to civilization, and the challenges of reconciling her wealthy European background with Caleb's rugged frontier life. Following Isabella's recovery and the development of her bond with Caleb, the narrative tension shifts from survival to the revelation of her true identity and the complications it introduces. This outline represents the pivotal turning point in the story, where the central mystery is unveiled and sets the stage for conflicts, both internal and external, that test the characters' trust, morality, and emotions. After several weeks of living together in Caleb's cabin, Isabella begins to feel a strong sense of gratitude and loyalty toward Caleb. The act of saving her life created an unbreakable bond, but her aristocratic instincts, taught by years of navigating a European noble household, instinctively push her toward transparency regarding her identity. Initially, she hesitates. Revealing her status could overwhelm Caleb, create social and practical complications, and jeopardize the simplicity of the life they've shared in isolation. She struggles internally, torn between the freedom of anonymity and the responsibility that her wealth and title demand. The moment of revelation is carefully built up. One evening, after a long day clearing snow and tending to the cabin's hearth, Isabella gathers the courage to explain her background. She describes her life as Baroness Isabella von Hohenberg, heir to a vast European fortune and an estate steeped in history. She recounts the political intrigues and pressures from distant relatives, detailing why she chose to travel incognito to experience life beyond the rigid expectations of aristocracy. She explains that her journey to America was intended to explore the world and gain independence. Yet it unexpectedly brought her to the frozen frontier, where she became a victim of the massacre. Caleb's reaction is a mixture of shock, confusion, and skepticism. For weeks, he had interacted with Isabella as a peer, a survivor, and a companion. The revelation of her immense wealth and social status challenges the simplicity of their established relationship. He questions whether her gratitude, her closeness, or her affection toward him is genuine or influenced by her aristocratic upbringing. This is a moment of emotional tension in the narrative. Caleb, a self-reliant man shaped by the harsh wilderness and the necessity of earning everything through hard work, feels both admiration and unease. He has no experience dealing with nobility, privileges, or inherited wealth, and this makes him introspective about his own worth and place in her world. Isabella, meanwhile, grapples with the fear that her revelation could disrupt the connection she has with Caleb. She knows he saved her life at immense personal risk and has grown to trust him implicitly. But she also understands that revealing her true status introduces societal expectations and external pressures. She fears he may perceive her as someone from a world too different from his, or that he may feel inadequate or intimidated. Her internal struggle adds depth to her character, highlighting the tension between personal desires and societal roles. The revelation also opens the narrative to external conflicts. Word of Isabella's survival and the massacre eventually reaches distant European relatives and estate managers, who have been tracking her movements. This introduces new pressures. Emissaries arrive, letters are delivered, and rumors begin circulating that she survived a catastrophic event. Caleb and Isabella now face the possibility that her wealth and title could make her a target for unscrupulous individuals, opportunists, or those wishing to control her inheritance. The story thus expands beyond the immediate wilderness to include elements of intrigue, danger, and societal confrontation. This outline also explores the clash between two worlds. Caleb embodies the self-made, rugged individualism of the American frontier, where survival depends on skill, courage, and perseverance. Isabella represents refinement, education, and inherited influence rooted in European aristocracy. Their interaction creates both dramatic tension and opportunities for character growth. Caleb must confront his preconceived notions of wealth and social hierarchy, while Isabella must reconcile her privileged upbringing with the authenticity and self-reliance she has witnessed in Caleb. This contrast provides a rich, narrative texture, highlighting themes of equality, respect, and mutual admiration that transcend social class. Amid these tensions, their emotional bond deepens. Caleb begins to understand that Isabella's actions, intelligence, and resilience are not defined solely by her social status. He recognizes that her resourcefulness during their survival together proves she is capable, courageous, and genuine. Isabella, in turn, admires Caleb not only for his strength and heroism but for his integrity, simplicity, and moral fortitude. This mutual recognition forms the foundation of a relationship that is as much about character and values as it is about romantic attraction. The narrative also uses this revelation to explore themes of trust, authenticity, and choice. Isabella's choice to reveal her true identity represents a moment of vulnerability and courage. Caleb's response tests his ability to remain open-minded and unprejudiced, demonstrating that true respect and affection are rooted in character rather than social status. The emotional stakes are high because the reader understands the fragility of trust after weeks of isolation and survival. A wrong reaction could undermine the intimacy they have built. Furthermore, this outline introduces subtle societal commentary. It contrasts the meritocratic, rugged frontier values with the inherited privilege of European nobility. Through Caleb and Isabella's interactions, the narrative examines how courage, skill, and compassion define personal worth rather than wealth or title. Their story suggests that love, loyalty, and respect emerge most profoundly in shared adversity, rather than in the comfortable confines of societal expectation. By the end of Outline 3, Caleb and Isabella reach an understanding. He accepts her identity without resentment, though he remains cautious about the complications her status may bring. Isabella's world of wealth, privilege, and social obligations looms on the horizon, foreshadowing future challenges. The revelation transforms the story from a survival narrative into a layered tale of social contrast, trust, and evolving romance. Both characters are now aware that their lives are intertwined not only by fate and survival, but also by a complex network of societal pressures, personal values, and emotional bonds that will test them in the chapters ahead. With Isabella's identity as a wealthy European baroness revealed, the narrative pivots toward external conflict, testing the courage, loyalty, and ingenuity of both her and Caleb. This outline focuses on danger, confrontation, and the deepening of their emotional bond through shared trials. The stakes are no longer just survival in the wilderness. They now include the threat posed by those who seek to exploit Isabella's wealth and status. The first threat arises subtly. News of Isabella's survival spreads through both European emissaries and local opportunists. Letters, rumors, and travelers report sightings of a lone woman surviving the northern wilderness. While Isabella initially hopes to maintain anonymity, it becomes clear that her safety is at risk. A group of unscrupulous fortune seekers, aware of her inheritance, begins tracking her route, planning to either coerce her or capture her for ransom. These adversaries embody greed, cruelty, and opportunism, contrasting sharply with Caleb's moral integrity and frontier ethics. Caleb, as a seasoned tracker and survivalist, quickly detects signs of danger. Tracks in the snow, distant figures moving cautiously through the trees, and subtle disruptions in the wilderness alert him to a looming threat. He takes immediate action to protect Isabella, combining his knowledge of the land with strategic thinking. He sets up traps around the cabin, scouts the surrounding terrain for signs of the intruders, and instructs Isabella in precautionary measures such as creating noise traps and observing signals from a safe distance. These sequences highlight Caleb's intelligence and adaptability, reinforcing his heroic qualities and emphasizing the realism of frontier survival. At the same time, Isabella proves that she is not merely a passive figure. Although inexperienced in frontier combat, she demonstrates courage, resourcefulness, and quick thinking. She assists Caleb in setting defenses, improvises tools from available materials, and learns basic self-defense. Her noble upbringing, while giving her refinement, also instilled a sense of strategy and composure under pressure. This duality, grace and courage, allows her to emerge as a fully realized character, not just a rescued aristocrat. Their interactions during these high-stakes moments strengthen their partnership, showing that trust and collaboration can transcend social class. The narrative introduces suspenseful confrontations. One night, under the cover of a storm, the fortune seekers attempt to approach the cabin. Caleb and Isabella, anticipating danger, are ready. The sequence is tense and cinematic. Wind howls through the trees, snow obscures visibility, and every shadow becomes a potential threat. Caleb uses his expert marksmanship and strategic positioning to prevent the intruders from reaching the cabin, while Isabella executes diversionary tactics and creates noise traps that confuse their attackers. The scene balances action with suspense, keeping the reader invested in both the physical danger and the characters. Emotional stakes dot in the aftermath of the confrontation. The duo realizes that these threats are only the beginning. Word of Isabella's survival and identity is likely to attract more dangerous individuals. This realization prompts them to make a critical decision. They cannot remain isolated forever. They must leave the wilderness temporarily and seek allies or secure Isabella's fortune in a safe manner. This decision sets the stage for future plot developments, creating tension between the desire for safety and the allure of frontier freedom. Throughout these confrontations, the emotional bond between Caleb and Isabella deepens significantly. Facing mortal danger together accelerates intimacy and trust. Moments of vulnerability, such as Caleb being injured during a skirmish or Isabella shielding him from a trap, highlight mutual care and loyalty. Their connection evolves from gratitude and admiration to profound emotional dependence. The narrative emphasizes that true partnership arises not just from affection, but from shared hardship, strategic collaboration, and the willingness to risk one's life for another. This outline also explores psychological tension. Caleb struggles with the moral dilemma of introducing Isabella to the wider world. On one hand, her safety may require her to return to civilization, surrounded by wealth and protection. On the other, he fears that the intrusion of her aristocratic world will strip her of the freedom, authenticity, and autonomy she has experienced in the wilderness. Isabella, meanwhile, wrestles with the conflict between her duty as a baroness and her growing emotional attachment to Caleb. She contemplates whether to reveal her plans for returning to her estate or continue living under the radar. Knowing that any decision could endanger both of them, the wilderness, once merely a backdrop, now functions as a character and strategic element in their defense. Caleb's intimate knowledge of the land allows him to manipulate terrain for ambushes, conceal their movements, and predict adversaries' tactics. Snowdrifts, icy slopes, and dense forests create natural obstacles for their pursuers while giving Caleb and Isabella tactical advantages. These sequences highlight the importance of environment in shaping narrative tension and demonstrate the couple's combined resourcefulness. By the end of Outline 4, Caleb and Isabella have successfully fended off immediate threats, but the looming danger remains unresolved. Their trust, collaboration, and mutual reliance have grown, and their relationship has shifted from cautious respect to deep emotional connection, hinting at the possibility of romance. At the same time, the story sets up future challenges, navigating her aristocratic obligations, confronting further adversaries, and reconciling the contrast between frontier independence and noble responsibility. After surviving the wilderness, repelling adversaries, and revealing her true identity, the story moves into its resolution phase. This final outline focuses on reconciliation, romance, and the merging of two vastly different worlds. It ties together the themes of survival, trust, love, and social contrast that have developed throughout the narrative, giving readers a satisfying emotional and narrative closure. With the immediate threats neutralized, Caleb and Isabella face the next challenge, integrating her aristocratic responsibilities with the life they've shared in isolation. Isabella, as Baroness von Hohenberg, holds a vast inheritance and a prominent social position. Letters from European relatives and estate managers reach her, insisting on her return to oversee the estate and attend to her familial duties. The arrival of emissaries is initially daunting. They represent societal expectations, rules, and a world of privilege far removed from the frontier. Caleb, aware of his humble origins, worries that he may be out of place in this foreign, wealthy world. The narrative uses this tension to explore themes of self-worth, authenticity, and the societal divide between wealth and merit. Isabella, however, is determined not to allow these obligations to disrupt her newfound freedom and emotional bond with Caleb. She proposes a compromise. Caleb will travel with her to the estate, where his skills, courage, and moral integrity are not only respected but celebrated. This decision is monumental as it symbolizes Isabella's willingness to reconcile her past life of privilege with the love and independence she discovered in the wilderness. It also reflects her recognition that true partnership is rooted in mutual respect and shared values, not social status or appearances. The journey back to civilization is symbolic, bridging the rugged wilderness with the refined European world. Along the way, Caleb and Isabella face minor challenges, treacherous terrain, lingering threats from opportunists who have learned of her survival, and the practical difficulties of travel in winter. These obstacles serve as narrative devices to reinforce their bond, highlighting collaboration, trust, and courage. During these moments, the narrative emphasizes emotional intimacy. Subtle gestures, shared laughter, and protective instincts reveal a deepening romantic connection. By the time they reach Isabella's estate, Caleb has not only proven himself as a capable protector, but as a partner worthy of her. Trust and affection dot upon arrival at the estate. The contrast between Caleb's frontier life and the aristocratic world is stark. Lavish halls, formal social protocols, and a retinue of servants overwhelm Caleb, emphasizing the narrative theme of social and cultural juxtaposition. Initially, Caleb feels out of place, unsure how to navigate the rigid structure of European nobility. Isabella, aware of his discomfort, acts as his guide, translating social expectations while defending his authenticity. Their interactions illustrate the challenge of reconciling two disparate worlds without compromising personal values or love. This setting provides both dramatic tension and opportunities for humor, as Caleb's straightforward, practical frontier sensibilities clash with aristocratic etiquette. Conflict arises from relatives and estate advisors who question Caleb's presence, seeing him as an outsider unworthy of the Baroness's attention or influence. These antagonists create tension and test the strength of the couple's relationship. Caleb must navigate societal judgment, relying on his integrity, courage, and the undeniable respect he has earned from Isabella. Isabella, in turn, must assert her autonomy, demonstrating that her choices are her own and that true partnership transcends class or societal expectations. Their ability to withstand external pressures reinforces the story's central themes of love, equality, and mutual respect. Romantic tension reaches its culmination in this final outline. Having survived life-threatening circumstances and shared profound emotional experiences, Caleb and Isabella openly acknowledge their love for each other. Scenes may include private moments in the estate's gardens, quiet conversations by candlelight, or shared laughter reflecting on the dangers and triumphs of their journey. The narrative emphasizes that their connection is not merely born of gratitude or circumstance, but of deep understanding, shared values, and emotional intimacy. This realization fulfills the reader's anticipation of romance while providing a natural, satisfying conclusion to their emotional arc. The resolution also addresses practical and symbolic matters. Caleb, though initially an outsider, is integrated into Isabella's world in a meaningful way. He may take on responsibilities on the estate, such as managing land, overseeing security, or introducing frontier efficiency and practicality to aristocratic routines. Meanwhile, Isabella gains a partner who respects her autonomy and offers loyalty, courage, and emotional support. Their partnership is portrayed as egalitarian, blending the strengths of two vastly different worlds, Caleb's rugged individualism and Isabella's strategic, refined intelligence. The narrative concludes by emphasizing personal growth and transformation. Caleb, once a solitary rancher, has found love, purpose, and connection beyond the wilderness. Isabella, once confined by aristocratic expectations, has discovered courage, independence, and authentic partnership. Their story suggests that survival, love, and personal integrity are deeply intertwined, and that true fulfillment comes from shared adversity, mutual respect, and emotional honesty. The conclusion also reinforces the enduring theme of social transcendence. Class, wealth, or societal rank does not determine the depth of human connection or the strength of character. Symbolism plays an essential role in this final phase. The frozen wilderness represents trials, isolation, and the harshness of life. Surviving it together symbolizes resilience, courage, and the forging of emotional bonds. The estate symbolizes societal expectation, wealth, and structured life, challenging the characters to reconcile personal desires with social responsibilities. The transition from wilderness to estate mirrors the journey of the characters themselves, from survival and uncertainty to stability, love, and fulfillment. By the end of Outline 5, the story achieves both narrative and emotional closure. The immediate danger has passed, the romantic arc is resolved, and both characters have grown individually and together. Caleb and Isabella stand as equals partners in love, life, and challenges. Their union is not just a romantic resolution but a testament to courage, trust, resilience, and the power of human connection to overcome adversity and societal divides.